Welcome to Laney College's Census webinar. We're really proud to be able to have Sunny Lei join us today from the Census Bureau. And of course, we have our Director of Student Life, Gary Albury, here with us, who can talk a little bit about what you can do to participate in the census. Sunny, I just want to give a short introduction because he has a lengthy resume. This is Sunny's third census. He doesn't look it, but Sunny is old enough to have 3 censuses under his belt. Sunny is extremely experienced. By the way, a census is every 10 years, so you can do the math. Sunny is extremely experienced working in the community. He is fluent in many languages. He is a terrific advocate for hard to count populations and making sure that people in our communities get counted. And he can tell you all about the reasons why we should participate and get counted and get the credit where we are due, so that those federal dollars can come back to us, so that we are here at Laney College counted for redistricting purposes, which is vitally important for representation. And Sunny can also talk about how to reach your parents, your friends, your families during this era of COVID-19, and explain to them why it's so important to participate. So with that, let's have Sunny introduce himself and talk a little bit about what his work is at the Census Bureau.
Yeah, thanks for that lengthy introduction. I don't know who wrote that, but anyway, yes, labor law was lax back then, so I could work and was barely 15, 16. Anyway, thank you, David and Gary and Evelyn for setting this up, and those who are going to be jumping on. As you can see in my slide here, the picture, you see that's everyone you can identify. You know, African Americans, Latinos, Asians, American Indians, everyone. To me, the census is a little bit personal. I wasn't counted in 1980 and 1990 census. I was a refugee. I came to this country as a no English. Well, yes, no, okay, thank you. That was that. And so I wasn't counted. So I went back to the 1980 census in the town called Clayton, east of here, east of Oakland. And I knew for a fact there were 24 Vietnamese in that town. But I looked at the 1980 census, none of us was counted. It kind of hurt. And in fact, the whole building where I lived, I don't think any one of us was counted. And what we had in common was that we were refugees, we were immigrants, we were African Americans, and we were Latinos, and we were poor. So renters, poor people are often being overlooked. And to me, I didn't exist in that town. That's what it means. I lived in that town, but to the government, the record keepers, I did not exist. So it's personal. It feels that way. It's more than just money and political representation. Not being counted is just like being snapped out of existence by Thanos. That's what it means. That's why I keep coming back to do after 2000 census, when I was asked to do this job, I didn't know anything about the census, but it didn't take long for me to understand the importance and why it's essential for people like us to be counted in the census. And then I came back for 2010, and here I am again. And the counting hasn't changed. It's the same. We need to count everyone who lives and sleeps in America, regardless of your immigration status or your housing situations. You can live in a mansion or live in a box on the street corner. We all counted, each as one, regardless of our status. You are here, you represent, you exist, and you need to be validated. That's why I'm here. So we can go to next. And being a Vietnamese refugee, I often looked at the countries where I came from. And also I am Chinese and Cambodian as well. It's like jambalaya in me, you know. The US Constitution is it's enshrined in there that every 10 years America has to come together and take the census. This is very unique. We have been doing it since 1790. It's a foundation of our government, of our society. Every aspect of our country is run on data. Don't have data, you cannot plan, you cannot execute, you cannot manage anything. Next, please. And another thing about the census is that people like me, I have taken an oath, and that was in 1996. Since 1996, I cannot review anything I have seen while working for the Census Bureau. Otherwise, I go to jail for 5 years or being fined $250,000 that I don't have. So I'm not going to risk my butt for that, and none of us at the Census Bureau is not going to do that. And as you can see that you can hear about breaches here and there, but you haven't heard anything about census data being stolen or hacked or anything. And another thing that you have to understand that what we collect personal information, but we release census data. So no names, no individual addresses, nothing can be traced back to the individuals. And no one has access to our data at a personal level. No state, no federal, no city, no county, no landlord. Nobody has access to your census data until 72 years later. So the 2020 census data won't be available to the public at a personal level until 2092. If you're still around, maybe you can check your own census data. I don't know. I'm gonna need Patrick Picard to tell me, or Captain Jean-Luc Picard, to make a synthetic version of me, and maybe I can come back and look at my census data in 2092. Okay, next please. Click one more time. It goes to, there you go. And as you can see, census is about money and power. It's a lot of money. The total federal government budget is about 1.2 to 1.5 to 2 trillion dollars. But the programs that based on census data for redistribution money to the state and city and county levels is about $675 billion a year. And also, not a single congressional seat can be reapportioned without census data. And also, census data is also used for local levels like BART district, the power, water, and the school districts, all of which require census data to reapportion, to redraw the district. So basically, every single aspect of our lives requires census data. I call census data the foundational building blocks of our government, of our society. Next, please. As you can see, everything. Schools, hospitals, I can talk about a little bit of the hospital right now, is that I am a certified medical interpreter, and that requires census data in order to come up with language access ordinance. In order for the cities and counties to provide, like you can see, voting pamphlets in other languages, that requires census data. For the schools to provide interpreters, that requires census data. For the hospitals to create outreach materials in different languages, that also requires census data. I had a pretty good job on and off for the last 25 years as a medical interpreter. And if it had not been for census data, I wouldn't be able to get that job. So let's see how important and personal it is. Next, please. Okay, so this hits hard. I ticked out many of these categories myself personally. The reason I wasn't counted in 1980, 1990 census, because I was young and I lived in mixed families. people, not untraditional families. That means there were multiple families that were unrelated. So in 1980, I lived with 2 other families. I was an unaccompanied minor, so I came here without parents. So I lived with guardians. So they're not related to me personally. And then within that household, there was another family. So in essence, there were 3 different families unrelated in the same household. And a lot of us were young. And we were racial minority, ethnic minorities. We could barely speak English. And we were renters. We were on welfare. So as you can see, and we were refugees. So we fit all these categories. In our Bay Area, we have also, unfortunately, some of our members are currently being homeless. Okay, doubling, tripling up. So those have to be counted. You are homeless, but you are individuals. You are humans like everybody else. And we need to be counted in, every, the same way like everybody else. And uniquely in the Bay Area, we have a growing populations of what we call refugees and those with temporary protected status. That will be Honduran. There's 500,000 those from Honduras are on temporary protected status. That means they are asylum seekers. They're waiting for legalization to remain here. They are legal in the US, but they're not immigrants. They're not immigrants. They have temporary protected status, and their status will up in February. And you have something approximately about 30,000 Nepalese from Bhutan who are here on temporary protected status as well. And then Nepalese who came here after the earthquake there, and you have Haitians after the hurricane. And we have a lot of groups who are here on temporary protected status. They can live here legally, but they're neither immigrants nor refugees, not yet. And so when their status is revoked, they disappear. So that means we need to find them, or we need to tell them that it's okay to be counted in the census is safe, and your being here is important. We need not only the funding based on your being counted, but also you are part of the community. You're part of the family. You have to be counted. And other groups that we also have a sizable numbers here in the Bay Area are the Pacific Islanders, Samoans, Fijians at risk of being undercounted. The one thing that a lot of Asian immigrant groups have in common is that other than the Taiwanese, the majority of us are renters. Renters are at high risk of being uncounted or undercounted. Next, please. Okay, so this is the timeline when each operation is taking place. And right now we are at this April 8th. Actually, I got the date wrong. I said April 7th in my opening slide. But beginning today, those of us who have not taken the census will get an envelope by mail with the census questionnaire, the paper pencil, the traditional way. Fill it out, drop it off. However, we have another challenge right now is that we don't know if we hope that the postal workers will pick it up. Otherwise, we have to get to the post office and drop it off. So COVID-19 has complicated everything right now. And so you can do it online. Yes, you can still do that, do by phone, but a lot of us are waiting for the paper, which is arriving beginning today. Okay, next, please. Okay, so when you get it in the mail, this is what it looks like. The letter, okay, the letter, and then the actual form. And we only have it in English and Spanish, okay, bilingual questionnaire. Next, please. And then these are the instruction sheets. One is to tell you to go online, one in 13 different languages. And then another one is to call the phone numbers. So the phone number is 14 because we include TDD for those hard of hearing. It is called the telephonic devices for the deaf. That's what it means, TDD. Next, please. you don't have to. We're going to get you to your question about the ID in a little while. Okay, so the internet, telephone, and the paper, which is arriving today. Okay, so there's three ways, primary ways of getting yourself counted at this point, until it's clear that we can go out and visit you and count you in person during the door knocking period in late May. That's right now we have scheduled, but we don't. We hope that the shelter in place order will be lifted once it's safe to do so. Next, please. Okay, so this is the website. This is what it looks like. Next, please. Okay, so this is the landing page. When you arrive here, you have the options of choosing one of the 13 languages. The website is my2020census.gov, and these are the 13 languages. You have, I love boasting about this. The Census Bureau website can be read in 59 different languages. Okay, no other government agencies right now, nobody would have 59 languages interface on their website that can be read. The Census Bureau has gone all out. Okay, now this is where you log in. Okay, so you can see this, the 12-digit ID. You log in. If you do not have the ID, you below log in, you just click on. If you do not have the ID, click there. And that's the census is essentially a count of households, of addresses. The address is key to our count. Next, please. And this here, it asks you to verify if you are counting for the address where you are. Okay. So that's because we can only send mail to the households. Our mail-in database is based on the master address file from the U.S. Postal Services. Okay, next, please. Okay, so this is very important, and especially for the Bay Area. You might be homeless. So, but we still need to have the city, state, and zip code. Why? Because the money for homeless services have to go back to very local governments, local cities and counties where you happen to live or sleep. And underneath that, in the box underneath, you can fill out where you are. You can say, you can fill out at the corner of Fallon and 10th, or at the corner of 14th and Broadway. You can write it in, or at the Wells Fargo at 14th and Broadway. The key thing is the zip code, the state, and the city. And I need to emphasize a little bit about being homeless. The Census Bureau doesn't count homeless people. We count those who experience homelessness at the point in time when you get counted. To us, we need to measure the change between 10 years ago and now, how many people have found themselves to be homeless. That's the point. The federal government, another agency, HUD, mandates another count. It's called point-in-time count. Every other year that city and county, they go out and by observations, they look at people and they count. Whereas the Census Bureau actually does a demographic head count. You are homeless, but we need to know your age, your race, your sex, and if you lived somewhere else at other points during the last 10 years. We need to know that. And being homeless include your relatives or unrelated uncle in the garage. If you have somebody, right now couch surfing at your home, that person is homeless. You may count that person within your family, but we have a question asking you if this person lives somewhere else. The census we look at what you fill out. We look at your age, your sex, your race, and also your last name to discern whether you are related to each other or unrelated to each other. That's how we know how people related to each other. That's a relationship question in there as well. Next, please. And here, actually, we give you the capacity or the ability to count up to 99 people under the same roof if you have large extended family. So you can fill in, you can put that 99 people in here, but you have to explain who they are later on. So you have to fill out for every one of them. So again, when you put in how many people live under that roof, we're gonna ask you to verify and fill it all out for you. Can you talk about college students who are living at home but should be? Okay, yes, I will get to that. Okay, so again, this is very important here. Newborn babies, if they born by April 1, 2020, they're counted. We count everyone from 1 to 100 years old, okay? If you are here, you're living, breathing, sleeping right now, you should be counted. Next, please. Okay, so here within the interface, you can go back to edit any questions that you have provided, just in case you said, wait a minute, did I put Joey's name down correctly? His middle name, I forget his middle name. Wait a minute, his age, because age and a lot of times we know the age, but we don't remember the exact birthdays or the other way around. So, you know, you can go back. And also the relationships. That's how occasionally you read about how many kids, how many children have been adopted in this past year, this past decade, or how many grandparents are raising their grandchildren. So that's how we know of those relationships and names and age and especially last name. That's how we can figure it out whether you related to each other or blended families. Now we have blended families, children of different marriages living in the same household, but they have different last names. So that's how we know. And then the last one, and this is key here. So nowadays, you know, you people, so you've done your census. Yeah, I done it. You sure? Give me the proof. This is the proof right here. So, you know, you take a snapshot of this, or you can print it out and prove that you have been counted. Okay. So this is something new. We have this interface for a little while, and people say, "Are you sure we can prove it?" I mean, you got to give us a confirmation. The same thing with the phone call. You can ask for the confirmation that you've been counted. So next, please. Okay, so these are the tools. Okay, so we have the internet options at 12 plus English languages. The same thing with the census assistant questionnaires. That's the telephone lines. Okay, so we have 12 plus English and TDD, and we have a lot of tools online right now that you can download at 2020census.gov. I will have that later on. That we have the language guides in 59 languages, and also cities and counties and states have produced additional languages to complement what we have missed. Next, please. And these are the phone lines that you can call, and it's, you know, like somehow you can go back to sleep at 4 a.m., fill out your census course. Somebody will talk to you. You know, you can get your census done at 4 a.m. in the morning if you feel like it, or, you know, you can go to bed at 11 p.m. call us up. You know, somebody will answer the call. We have 10 call centers throughout the country that route your calls to the nearest operator, basically. Next, please. Okay, this is a language guide. Just download it and put on your websites, and people can use. And also, it's in video form as well. Next, please. Okay, so all the tools are here. Okay, so videos, scripts, PSA, radio spots, posters, handouts. You can find them at 2020census.gov. You can also get yourself counted there. And if your partners go 2020census.gov/partners, that will take you directly to the materials. Next, please. Okay, so it doesn't look like we can go out, but we don't know that yet. So we still have to hire people. And right now, because of the safety concern, we have to double our effort. And so we won't be hiring people to go out until later this month and April and May, because we have pushed the deadline to August 14th. So the time to go out will be later. So this is like, we want to have workers from the very communities where they've been knocking on doors. We want people to walk around the neighborhood, feel comfortable, feel safe walking around the neighborhood with the iPhone 8. We want people who look and sound like the community members whom they will be counted. So for us, yes, we have over 2 million candidates in the hopper, but we go down the list according to census tract and also the language requirement as well. So please, right now is a good time if you're college students, if you can go work for us in the next few months, you're looking at about a couple $1,000, at least a couple thousand extra cash in your pocket. It's pretty handy at this point. And we pay pretty well, up to $33 an hour in the Bay Area. You can see. Okay, so that's it for me, and my contact is here. And there, we have 4 individuals leading the teams, and our team lead is Leah Bolden. And I'm gonna take questions and go through the chat questions, okay? Okay, so we can close that off and go to the chat box, or you can ask me directly. Oh, can we look at the chat box?
So thank you, Sonny, so much for providing this information to our community. What I'll do is I have the chat box, and what I can do is ask you the questions directly, and then you can respond. So one of the first questions was, can we fill out the 2020 census without the census ID from the mail?
Yes, you can. We have that option online, by phone as well. So the address is key. The ID is a clerical process. It helps us at the back end so that we can cross your name out from the list from having to send a worker out to get you to knock on your door. So that's a clerical process to quicken the workload at the back end. But the address is what we need.
Good, thank you for that. All right, so then another question is, can you talk about college students? So students that are currently living at home due to the shelter in place, but they actually live on campus on their in the dorms on their campuses. So what should they do?
Okay, so if the college students live in the dorms and the colleges college managed facilities, then they would be counted as group quarters by the colleges themselves. The colleges have to abide by FERPA and HIPAA to provide just the bare minimum available or allowed by those policies to the Census Bureau electronically. So that's a safe one. We are more concerned about those who live off campus in private rental facilities. Okay, that's very key. You might be back home with your parents, grandparents, or guardians, or your girlfriend, boyfriend, but you should be counted as if you were still living at the address near your campus or the city side. For example, if you normally go to Boston U or Harvard or Oxford or NYU, but you're back in the Bay Area, when you count yourself, you just use the address at NYU, in New York City or New Jersey, wherever you happen to live, or in the Boston proper, wherever you happen. If you go to Boston U out there, but you're here at home, you should use the address of where you had lived in the Boston area, if you plan to go back there. If you're not planning to go back there, of course you are back in the Bay Area now, so you have to count where you're going to be living here in the Bay Area.
Sure.
So again, you should be counting yourself where you normally live and sleep most of the year. So most of the year for us is 6 months and 1 second. Where have you lived in the past 6 months and 1 second? Boston, you count yourself in Boston. Use the address there and get yourself counted. If you live on campus facilities, campus or schools managed facilities, then the schools would be the one counting you through a process we call group quarters enumeration.
Good, thank you. So a follow-up question to that. So you live in off-campus housing and you have roommates. Right. Do you also count your roommates? Right.
So, ideally, you should know who your roommates are, but, their names, their age, and another complication, how would they prefer to have themselves be counted? Male, female, non-binary, binary. So all those complications. And if you look at me, you wouldn't guess that I'm half Chinese and a smidgen of Cambodian in there too, right? So that's a challenge. If you know them, then, or before you left the university or the campus, like, guys, let's have a talk. Census is coming. I need to know what's your name, what's your this, and how you want to be identified, your age, your birthday. But that may not happen. So we are telling the college students is that at any given time, you get a sense that you have not been counted, call one of the 844 numbers, or get online at my2020census.gov and get yourself counted. Overcounting is a Census Bureau's problem. We have ways to unduplicate those who have been overcounted. We look at the age, we look at the birth dates, we look at the names, we look at the sex, the race, all those keys for us to see, one individual filled it out twice, and we know that's a duplicate, right? If all those coincidences match up, then we know it's the same person. So undercounting is a problem we cannot afford. Overcounting, the Census Bureau has worked to fix it at the back end.
Good, good. Thank you, thank you.
I got to follow up. What if you're renting, let's say in Berkeley, you attend UC Berkeley, you're renting in Berkeley, but your lease is up.
Right.
You gave up your lease because you had to go home to Modesto.
Right.
So do you use your address in Berkeley, even though you don't have a lease there anymore?
Yes.
How do you account for that?
So the accounting is that unless your lease is up, but if you plan to go back to Berkeley to go to school, so if you plan to go back, so that means that you have spent the last year at the last 4 or 5 years at Berkeley, right? That money has been due to the city and county. And also if you plan to come back, that city and county is going to need more money come from the Fed to pay for your services being there. So if you plan to go back there, use that address that you just left. Okay, the lease is up, but that still had been your primary place of residence. Okay, and if anytime you're in down, just put the address of the colleges down. Right. So again, as I was saying, is that the Bureau has many ways at the back end, at our end, to figure out whether you are college students on campus or you've been counted already through the group quarters enumeration, or that you have been counted by your parents or your adopted parents or your, how you say, in a blended family situation, your step parents. So again, that's why we seem to be nosy. We ask all these questions. Why is it the age is not enough? We still have to ask for your birthday. So those questions, when put together, are keys to us to figure out whether it's the same person or not.
Good, thank you. All right, so another question is, how does getting counted at the college benefit the college and the college town / community? You
know, it's uncountable, the benefits. I mean, some of the benefits that you never thought of, like EOP, is that still EOPS?
Yes.
Right. I was a Laney student. I was a Merit College student, and I relied on EOPS for services for my need as an immigrant. So that money has to come. It comes from the Fed, and so Title IX, Title I, all those money, the Fed money, right? So even for that paving of the street in front of the school, that requires money. Okay, so that money, the Department of Transportation dole out that money to the state and to the city. And then across from Laney College, you have BART. BART relies on Federal Transportation Fund for that. And then even the museum across the street, the National Endowments for the Arts, that's federal money. So the museum has to say, each year we have these thousands of people coming in, and they have a breakdown of the demographic of the visitors coming in. And they know what required. And then they can apply for money from the endowment. And also for the colleges, you keep your data on the ethnographic data of the students, and you keep track of their needs, whether it's tutorial, whether it's ESL, vocational training. All those have sources of funding that go back to the federal government. And so basically, the school wouldn't be a school without federal fund to pay for various things. So whether it's salaries, services, even the computer and the computer lab, all that, as I was saying, census data undergirds all of that. It's a foundation that holds everything up. In order for you to build a house, you need to have a foundation. And the first thing you need to have is census data. So basically, that's why it's so important.
That's really relevant to us. Our APASS program, our APASS program, is from federal dollars based on the census count. The HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution grants are also from federal dollars. There's so many programs that are dependent on accurate count of our communities so that they get the resources they need to serve our students. So it's really critical that students participate, and if they live in the campus community, to report that. They need to file a separate census form separate from the household that they are currently living in during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Sure. So I think those are all the questions that I see coming from the chat room, as well as the questions that I had, as well as David. Again, we want to thank you, Sonny, so much
Thank you for having me on here.
vital information.
Yes, thank you.
Our community. And I'll turn it back over to David for any closing remarks.
Yeah, Sonny, that was really terrific. We're going to be talking to Gary about maybe putting together some ways to engage our students at Laney in this process and make it fun. Some ideas that Gary had with maybe a contest, a video contest that students can film on TikTok and submit, and Gary will select a winner for some cash prizes to get people engaged. What are people doing during the pandemic, and how can we participate? Other ideas are to encourage participation is to develop messaging campaigns and YouTube campaigns, and let students tell us what works to reach their peers. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to engage everybody here at Laney. And thank you, Gary, for taking the leadership.
Great idea. Great idea, Gary.
Gary's got so many resources and ideas. We're really proud of all the terrific work that he's done.
All right, Gary. Go, Gary.
Go, Gary.
It's all David. Thanks, David. Thank you so much also for your leadership on co-facilitating and bringing in Sonny to help us in promoting this to our campus community. So thank you, David, and thank you again, Sonny. All right.
Thank you.